You're listening to the Get Out of Your Own Damn Way podcast, episode number 92. Do you feel the need to justify your choices? Time to live by the words of Annie Lamott, who said, "No is a complete sentence." Welcome to the Get Out of Your Own Damn Way podcast. I'm your host, Krylyn Peters. Each week, I bring you inspiring messages to help you create the life you're meant to lead. Buckle up, buttercups. So welcome to today's episode, all about saying no. As you know, we are in the midst of dealing with setting boundaries. So the last few episodes and the next few episodes, we are talking about everything to do with setting boundaries. And today's episode is no exception. Today we are exploring the art of saying no. So do you say no? Do you like to say no? Do you hate saying no? I'm curious because the more comfortable we can get with saying no, the more comfortable we're going to be in our own skin. So I'm going to explore a little bit about that in why we hate to say no. Because there's some reasons, and we really do need to explore it. Because as we're changing a behavior, as we're trying to get more comfortable with something new, we've got to understand the reasons behind why we're doing it the old way, the way that we may not want, the way that's not getting us the results that we need. So let's explore why we hate saying no. Well, why do you think? Curious, why do you think you might not like to say no? I have some ideas, so let's see if any of these resonate. And you might have some other ones too to add to the mix. But these are just a few that I came up with as I was preparing for the show. Why we hate saying no. We might be afraid to hurt other people's feelings. Well, that's a very, very valid concern, right? We don't want to go around intentionally hurting other people's feelings or crossing boundaries to hurt other people. That's not who we are. I know the people in my tribe, the people who listen to me, who follow me, are not the kind of people who do that. You are all some pretty kick-ass people who are very high in integrity, you're very responsible, and you want to connect with people in a deep and meaningful way. So part of saying no means that we might hurt other people, not intentionally, but that might be a byproduct. So that's part of why we don't like saying no. Another reason we might not like saying no is that we really want people to like us. Thought of that, right? The people pleasies. And if we say no, there is a chance that they may not like us. Oh no, what's going to happen? So is that the reason though? Is that a good enough reason, I should say? Is that a good enough reason to just kind of say yes to everyone else and to let them dictate what we do, when we do it, how we do it? Right? Is that a good enough reason? Is that we just don't want them to like us? Well, I contend not, but it might be a reason that keeps us from saying no, is that we really want people to like us. And that's okay, right? There's no shame, I don't think. I know people talk about that shame of, oh, you don't have to, people don't always have to like you have to like yourself. Well, yes, and we do live in a real world where we interact with other people. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to be hanging around with people who don't like me, right? So I would never intentionally hurt somebody, but if I do something and it hurts them, then that's an opportunity to talk about it and figure out what to do to repair it, to move forward, and to move past it. And then there's another reason we hate saying no that I identified, which is that we are conditioned to do what other people ask of us. And if you listen to the episode where I talked about the good girl syndrome, this really points to that. If you haven't, I suggest you listen to it. And that's the conditioning that we go through, that kind of good girl conditioning of I'm only going to do what's expected of me, I'm not going to rock the boat, that kind of thing. And it can be really problematic, especially if it's preventing us from saying no to other people, is we have that condition about us. So those are some of the reasons that we might hate saying no. If you can think of any others, I would love to hear them. And I'm sure that you can. So let me know. I would love to. But those are the few that I came up with. So now that we've explored a little bit about why we might hate saying no, I want to talk a little bit about what saying yes all the time to other people can cost us. And I bet you have some things in mind here, right? So it can cost us our peace of mind. It can cost us our time, our energy, and even our dignity. And if you can think of anything else, throw it on in there. But now here I am to tell you that even if we hate saying no, and even if we are ready to shift into saying yes, I want to talk a little bit about some truths about saying no. Because I think we have a tendency to think a certain way about what it means to say no. And you know me, I love to blow myths out of the water. I love to talk truth. I love to really dig into what our underlying beliefs are, but we need to uncover them and look at them in order to do that. So here's a few truths about saying no. The first one is that justifying your no is more about other people's reactions and your need to placate. All right, so this goes back into that conditioning, okay? So a lot of times we think saying no is about other people, right? But it's really about our need. It's our need to not displease other people. It's our need to placate or please other people. So it has to do with that rather than their reaction. Their reaction, we have no control over other people's reactions. We only have control over what we do, over what we say, over how we think, all of those things, all internal stuff. So if we can get to that truth that it's really more about managing ourselves and our reaction, because when we say no to someone, their face might change, their demeanor might change, right? And then what do? We automatically assume we know what that means, those nonverbal things. We think that they're like, oh my gosh, they hate me now, or they're going to be really mad, or they're going to mess up this other thing for me as retaliation. Like our mind just goes in these spinning circles. But we have to remember we have no control. What we do have control over is if we notice somebody reacting to our no, we can say, I noticed that you looked away from me. Can what's that about? Or are you okay? Or do you want to talk about this? Like you can manage how you respond to that. Obviously, you cannot dictate what they do or how they process it, but you certainly can bring it up and open it up for discussion. So that's the first truth. The second truth about saying no is that, oh, I love this one, you guys. So saying no is also saying yes. So I'm going to say it like that. I love that. So saying no is also saying yes. Saying no to other people is about saying yes to you. And I'm just quiet because I think that's such an important point. The thing about no, like nobody likes to hear no, right? Nobody likes to hear no. We don't like to hear people tell us that we can't or we shouldn't or don't do that. Nobody likes to hear that. So I love to now just turn that on the side, shift it, mix it up a little bit and understand if you can get this concept, you are going to be so freaking successful. You're not even going to be able to stand yourself. But if you can even take the word no out of this whole thing, I know this episode is all about no as a complete sentence, right? But if you can flip it and talk about the yes and identify the yes and resonate with the yes, saying no is like just a little piece of that. And it's really not necessarily even saying no. It's just sticking up for what you want, what you believe in, what you are going to do, and it's saying yes to you. And I don't know anyone who has any amount of success in their life who hasn't had to deal with this issue of understanding that when you are putting yourself first, and I don't mean that means that you're selfish and you're not doing things for other people, but when you put yourself as a priority in your life, that means that you say yes to the things that are aligned with you. You say yes to your priorities. You say yes to your values. You say yes to the people you love in your life. But it also means saying no sometimes. It means instead of this that would please 500 people and leave me miserable, right? I'm going to say yes to me. And I might have these people might be disappointed. And that's, you've got to be willing to allow that to happen. Again, you have no control over what people are going to do in reaction. However, you have the right and the responsibility, if I dare say, to say yes to you. So saying no to others is also about saying yes to you. And if you can keep that in mind, you are going to go very, very far. The third truth about saying no, and I've kind of already talked about this, but how other people respond to your no is not your responsibility. It's not. You only have control over you, and other people have the responsibility to own up to their own reaction to you saying no. And if we can understand that separation and put it into practice and really see the big picture, then when we say no, we won't feel like we have to justify it. We won't feel like we have to give what I call a dissertation when you do not accept an invitation or do not accept someone's request to do something for them. And it's okay. It's okay to just say no. Someone asks you a question, there's a possible response of yes or no, right? And if you say yes, that's a complete sentence. If you say no, that's a complete sentence. And I want you to stop. So I want you to practice that. When people are asking you things and what they're asking is not fully aligned with you, or it's going to cause you some amount of discomfort or harm that you have decided is not worth it to you, I want you to practice just saying no and end it there. And you might get some reactions, and then remember that it's their responsibility. Remember that you have the right to say yes to yourself, which means saying no to other people sometimes. And that you are now pleasing yourself rather than other people. You don't want to please others at the expense of yourself. So keep those in mind and remember it's okay to say no, and that is a complete sentence, period. Thanks for listening to the Get Out of Your Own Damn Way podcast. If you've been inspired, please share the podcast with your friends. You can find us on iTunes or at Krylyn.com. KRYLYN.com.